page 32 in yellow tab, operating expenses. And
That is going to be municipal maintenance. Kirk Smith and Damon Harvey.
Sidearm with
And their total operating budget is on 36, there's no switch over to another page. Yes, municipal maintenance page 32 operating. We had a question earlier that was outside of the conversation on our pressure washing, how that's going.
very well.
Any questions for Kirk or Damon?
Oh, yes, I do.
So I was waiting on that.
Yeah. In your department, is there any critical need in your department right now that is not included in this budget that you have submitted?
Yes, sir. One problem we are having is, we've had an HVAC technician opening for several months. The opening is budgeted, but the salary that is reflected in that position, and we're not able to hire anybody.
What's the salary that's reflected in that position?
Starting salary is $46,800.
And what would it take to get somebody in that position, you would say?
And
At least what?
in the 60s.
What?
In the 60s is what people are making in that field that, we haven't had any applicants for, qualified applicants for that.
Okay, but 40,000 is in here.
46.
46,000. Okay.
And we have a plumber that is shared with us that he's going to be retiring, and we're going to have the issue with that also.
Well, if that's a critical need, could you evaluate that, update that, and put it in? I mean, I would be in favor of, I would be in favor
I'd be in
of
favor
it
of raising salaries, but I don't have that authority.
Well, we have to get the numbers that we have. How many HVAC techs we have on staff right now?
One.
We have one on staff, so we'd also have to raise that comparable to
Yes.
hire too. So
Right.
Yes.
I just have to, we just work and get the numbers together on that.
Yes, sir.
It's at 61,000 plus benefits.
Yes.
So we're apples to apples, and we're saying we're at 40 something. We have some pretty good benefits. That's at 61, have those benefits.
The HVAC The HVAC industry at this time has great benefits also.
Yeah, so it kind of, why would you come work here when you can go work somewhere else and make 60 plus with good benefits and stuff?
And the 60 is a starting salary.
Right.
People that are in the industry and are more at the 80 to 85 to $90,000 range right now. It's in the 60s for a start.
Right. And so, I mean, to Mr. Donnell's point, he's asked this question of everybody, and very few people have, given a critical need. So if it's a critical need, would like to see it included in the budget.
Thank you, I would too. The maintenance department is a behind the scenes department, but we keep the fire stations running so that the firemen do have a comfortable place to live, and we replace the units when they need replacing, and keep all the behind the scenes things going. Paint the civic center.
Yeah, I think one thing, council, this is not to discourage, we can still run those numbers, but how many employees we got Kirk in maintenance?
When we're fully staffed, including myself and Damon, 27.
27. So if you're HVAC tech, obviously needed, but then we still have employees that are working here that are going to see us raising for a new employee that's vacant field. So we have to also keep that in consideration. That's just numbers we have to run. we raise one because we're trying to fill a position, then you have the other 24 employees are gonna say, wait a second.
Right.
And so that's also something to consider as well. And then any increase in salaries also increases benefit costs as well.
Sure.
I just want to make you all aware. So it wouldn't just be a
one.
we're coming in and raising one HVAC new hire. It would be, we'd feel that throughout the 24 current employees now.
Sure.
You raise one like that, you may lose 5 if you don't raise the others.
Yeah.
Correct, correct.
Kurt, I want to thank you for a great service every time that I need you and with things that are around the city. So thank you for you and what your staff do and the tremendous attitude about getting stuff done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We have a very great group of people that I work with, and I'm proud of all of them.
Yeah, you see their work, you don't see them working, but you see their work. I mean, look at just the auditorium of the Civic Center right now. It's just, we've got a lot of
Very
confidence
nice.
on that.
Those guys really worked hard and got it done under the time constraints that they were under. I'm really proud of it.
Something else that I don't think gets mentioned is y'all work in the Parks Department a lot, and the things that go on and the things that get torn up in our city parks. Like, kids will just come in and rip a toilet off of the floor. And you're the ones that go, so the next day,
It's like it never
it's
happened.
working again. So I mean, it's weird stuff happens at our parks, and y'all clean it up, y'all do a great job.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, compliment. And just as a side note, our departments work so well together. It's almost seamless when you don't know where one stop the other one picks up, because they work well together. So I really appreciate that.
And I don't think the average citizen has an appreciation for what you do. And I don't know how to, because y'all are so far, so much behind the scenes, and things just work well.
We get a lot of ridicule over my pressure washer, but I take it because you know, they want to fuss about sidewalks and potholes, and I told them if we could buy asphalt for what I pay for water, we'd do the whole city.
That's what I'm noticing recently is that tank y'all have running the pressure washer. I mean, that's a lot of water, and y'all go through it fast. But the sidewalks out around District 8, much improved. You don't see it all of them.
Yeah, we go through probably $100 worth of water a month, you know, water's cheap. But, you know, we spend $100 a month on water.
Yeah, I've seen no pressure washer.
But we go through a lot of water.
How much a month on water?
About $100 a month on pressure washing the water. Now, we do buy bleach, and we buy a lot of, replace the hoses, and that's where our budget for our pressure washing supplies comes in. The hoses, as we drag them down the asphalt, they do wear out, and we got to replace those. So that's where that budget comes in.
Well, as we've said before, the appearance of our city is highly important for people visiting, for people living here. It's a quality of life thing. So thank you for making it look much better than it has.
Thank you.
And then, Ray, if you have any questions, we can go back to operating capitals on page 14 in the pink tab. Like I said, vehicles, we're going to look into leasing programs, that's out. Equipment, as we go to that, we talk about the Tyler Munis work order system. I don't think anybody knows that Kurt went and got the current work order system we have right now for maintenance and found a free app to do it. And so that's our work order system that he's working off, because there wasn't one 4 or 5 years ago. And so he went and found that for free, and we've been working off that. I mean, we're consolidating everything in Tyler Munis, so they need iPads and OtterBoxes for the iPads to track work orders, but that's their capital request. Any other questions for maintenance? I think it's stuff to fix. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, y'all see a lot of stuff. Starts at page 33. Parks and Recreation.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Our Parks and Rec Department is comprised of what I consider some of the best public servants. I always say we got the best department, but we do have great departments. We do have great departments across the city. In recent years, our departments have made great strides in improving in many areas. That could not happen without the council support. This council support and of course the mayor's. That could not happen. We have a great Parks and Rec Board chaired by former Councilman Paul Taylor. It's a very active board, and we have worked closely with our board in setting forth a vision for our Parks and Rec Department. Our board was actively involved in our budgeting process and setting priorities for this fiscal year and beyond. As our city continues to grow and expand, it is imperative that the Parks and Rec Department continue to provide a wide variety of leisure activities for its citizens, while at the same time being good stewards of the taxpayers' money and assets. Citizens are the owners of these assets. We have upgraded many of these assets and added new facilities, and we're adding additional facilities will be added in the near future. As we continue to move forward and expand, now is the time for us to look internally at our organizational structure that honestly needs to be structured in order to give greater accountability, efficiency. The present organizational structure for the long term will not fit. At present, there are 13 direct reports to me. You see the minute list here, but there are 13 direct reports. That's not a model for long-term growth. We're proposing that we add 2 deputy directors to our administrative team, a director for program and athletic parks, and a director for public venues that include the community centers and the public venues. This is something that our board and department believe will truly make for better operation of our department. Many cities in our comparable size do have this type of network. If you look at our organizational chart, it's not critical, but it is something I think for the long-term future of the department, that there be some more accountability, some lines of communication between departments. Yes.
Are they in here? Are those?
So, yeah, I think we were getting to that. We talked about it.
Paul
and Tony came by this past couple weeks talking about this. So what we're going to do, I think, the overall organizational structure, making sure, I think there's some retirements in there of this current fiscal year, making that budget neutral, and then looking at, I think there's 2 additional positions, and then looking at the addition of that, and then pay structure, be kind of a step-in pay structure, right? The restructure. So budget neutral this year, and then moving into what the pay structure would be, and the 2 additional positions in the FY27 budget.
And I'm going to turn it over to Christie, who has some numbers and figures, and also any questions you have regarding the ad administration, recreation parks, ad administration, capital. And I have all of my department heads are here if you have specific operation questions for them and capital questions. Feel free, I will bring them up to address those that I can address, but we do want to share and have that opportunity for you to directly talk to the people who are there every day. They can give you insights as to what they need.
Let me ask you what you just said. You said 2 deputy directors, and what else did you say?
Just 2 deputies.
Just 2 deputy directors, okay. All right, thank you.
In cities of our comparable size, Barton's a little smaller than us, and they've got deputy directors.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's start off with our 2025 revised budget. Our salaries, this is salary only, this doesn't include benefits. So our revised budget was 3.558 roughly. The corrected salary budget for this year, this is including our projected part-time, seasonal, and temp workers, will be 3.615. So that's only a difference of about $57,000. That includes the allocation of the 2 deputy directors. Those positions will come under rec admin. The difference for that budget from last year to this year is about $100,000. So that's the impact. We'll go from a revised budget of $699 last year to $599 this year. Some of that resulted, the change that you're seeing there. We had some employees that were being paid out of the wrong line item. They weren't being paid out of their salary line item, so we've corrected all of that. Another thing that we've done is there were only our part-time, like 3 part-time workers and 1 full-time worker at Westwood. What we've done is restructured that and put all of our summer camp workers for Westwood. They were under rec admin. We've moved them under Westwood as they should be. Bemis Ceramics, those employees were falling under rec admin. We've moved them under Bemis Ceramics, so it's a true accurate picture of the cost from these departments. So there was some reclassification, some cleanup we had to do, but that's our projection right now.
So is that the reason it's a 34.9% decrease? Is because those people have gone?
Well, no, right now the decrease is because our part-time positions aren't reflected in there. We have 155 part-time positions throughout Recreation and Parks. That includes the Sportsplex. And so that totals about a $1.4 million salary cost over our department, just in our part-time and temporary workers that are not currently allocated in your projection.
Thank you.
So, right now, we're net about zero before we take in part-time.
Yes.
Okay, so, and the part-time's about $1.1 million, $1.5 million?
1.4 roughly.
$1.1 million. And where will that be, where is that showing up now?
It's not showing up on your
So the
projection.
budget we got here is $1 million short.
It's $1.4 million short.
So you can look at TRY
Nothing below
Westwood.
here.
Yeah, so it's a lot of the summer camps and, the seasonal services offered. Like that, so.
And our tennis complex is fully part-time. We don't have a single full-time person there, so,
You need the funds to be able to even have one.
yes.
Next week. Next week.
Okay.
Oh, good. Okay.
And we'll get that out to you as soon as we get those. Yeah.
Other than what you said about the Megan Ford that's not here, is there any other critical need in the department?
Well, some individual departments will have that, particularly the Civic Center and the fairgrounds. Civic Center.
I have a question about the Civic Center. Hi, good morning. Earlier, I've talked with LaShawn Shun, and I believe that she is there. Is she able to come up?
She's here.
I'm here.
Okay, good. It's good. Hey, how are you doing? It's good to see you, and thank you for being there. Okay, what I had talked with you about was last year with the risers, it was critical for us to put those in. So this year, when I was down there working on a project at the Civic Center, there were several things pointed out that were critical now, like maybe 30 years old. And I looked at the budget, and what I'm seeing is maybe only 59,000. So I want to make sure, and this is some notes that I made from earlier, and I have talked with several of you and the mayor about the fly rail system.
That's in the capital request.
Okay. So those are the things, just while she was there, I wanted to make sure we were taking care of her. The control ropes, there were just a lot of things similar to what I would call the risers and what our mayor just said. So I just want to make sure you're covered. And then since I'm in this right now, might be cut off, I want to tell you what a great job you did by moving everyone around when the Civic Center was closed. And I think I've already heard that it looks great, repainted. But I just want to make sure we're behind you all on the needs of the Civic Center and bringing that up to date. Thank you.
Councilman Donnell.
Yes.
In regards to critical needs, she can address that in terms of employees.
All right, I'm ready.
We are averaging now 2 to 3 events a week. This week we have 7. I have 4 full-time and 2 part-time. And we really need staffing because these guys, I have to have 2 shifts per day per event. And these guys are working back to back to back. So staffing is very critical for us right now. Also, I'm sorry. Also, I just discovered, and I haven't even brought this to Mr. Tony, that I saw that maybe last year that during the ARPA fund, that the HVAC system was upgraded. No, the HVAC system was not upgraded. The computer was upgraded. The HVAC system is old, and we are steadily patching, calling Morgan Thornburg. Now, that's not in the capital, because I just discovered that like a couple of days ago.
How much does that cost if it was included?
I don't know right now. I haven't really got any figures for you, but I can get it to you.
And would you estimate over or under $1 million?
Maybe under $1 million.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What, what would it take, like you said that you're down staff, or you're not down, but you would like additional staff. So how
We're
many?
down.
Okay, so how many would you be at full capacity, and then any additional that you would need?
At least 3.
Okay, 3
And I have one full-time staff. He's still at a building attendant 1. He's been there 4 years, and he's eligible for a building attendant 2 at this point. And he hasn't been upgraded.
Okay.
I will say that part of one of the things that we're looking at doing with our deputy directors, part of their roles, is gonna be looking at the pay of all the employees, because there is some discrepancies there that needs to be adjusted. And so that's, like she's talking about the building attendant 1 that needs to be moved to a 2. We have, that's widespread across our department. And so that's one of the tasks that our deputy directors are gonna be looking at, those positions and seeing, so you may have a budget amendment come to you mid-year where we're adjusting some of those salaries to make them fair, what they're supposed to be.
Okay.
And with that need, would those be full-time and part-time? Can some be part-time?
Yes, one could be part-time. If I can get 2 full-times and a part-timer, that'd be great.
All right, so the critical needs are 2 full-time and 1 part-time. Is that right?
Yes.
And the 1.4 needs to be covered in here.
Yes.
So the 2 full-time, 1 part-time isn't reflected in the current budget, okay. Or the HVAC, but you didn't know about that, okay.
These positions you're requesting, is there a seasonal nature to them at all, or is this all the time, every time?
This long, every time. We are extremely, our events has tripled at this point.
Director Black, I don't want your job. You've got such a huge thing under your staff. If you didn't have that great staff, you couldn't handle it. And it's a more quality of life, for sure. Quality of life, a lot of these services provide for tennis courts for senior citizens. And then it's also representing the city as far as the civic center, the ballpark, well, and all these things. But I want to ask this question.
Sure.
Could we please have a listing of the costs of these with the revenues generated, just so we'll see what's costing?
We can get that.
On that.
And one of the other things we're doing also, Councilman, is even on our programming side, we're going to get new software registration system. And one of the things that recreation needs to do is cost analysis. Putting together a program and seeing how it compares. Is it worth what we invest in it? Are we getting a return? So there has to be a cost analysis component. And then we're also looking at, in terms of revenue, some leakage that we may be getting. For example, we do have an MOU committee now that's looking at some of these agreements with groups that basically we give them some funds, and yet we're doing the work. And I won't go into it too deep here. That's something that we're looking at trying to rectify, because we're doing the work while we're giving these groups the money that comes right back to us, and they said they're donating it to us. So that's one of those areas. Also, we're looking at our fee structures. Some of the new facilities coming on, we're looking at memberships to offset some costs. So those are things that are in place. Now, back to Councilman Donnell's question about some critical needs. Fairground has some critical needs similar to her. They recently, there's been some changes at the fairground. Like I say, we have an interim director now. Previous director is no longer there. So Ms. Tina Kennard, who's been at the Civic Center, been at the fairground, is our interim director. I would like her to express some needs she has, because we had gotten down at the Civic Center to basically two full-time. She was one of them, and the other one was the lead of the crew to do the changeover. And he had flea market, he had a circus, and he had to work it because there was full-time. We bought back a full-timer that started yesterday, that left under some circumstances that really weren't correct. I can address that. And we have a part-timer who is there, who's been there several years, and we've asked him if he's interested in full-time, but he's going to be deployed with the National Guard for 5 months. And then we have another part-time who's a retiree who can only work a certain number of hours. And he's a very good employee, but he cannot work beyond a certain limit. So there's a need there. So Tina. This is Tina Kennard, the interim director. She's been there for years.
Hello.
Oh, she's a little nervous.
Yes. It's okay.
All right.
You're okay. They won't bite.
Just follow up on
What are your needs?
Just follow up on what he has said about those critical needs you got in the background.
Yes, like he just said, right now, we only have one full-time. Well, we have two. We're using PPL, which is personnel placement, to help out with the staff. But right now, they don't have anybody to send me for me to even use. They are aware that I have requested 2 individuals to help. But I do need another full-time employee, which is very critical.
With just one?
And I would like a part-time.
So full-time and a part-timer. Because city employee has to be there when events.
Every event.
We can't let PPL people or people who are employees be there on site. And like the Civic Center, they may not have as many events within the week, but you're booked every weekend?
Every weekend for 2025.
So how are you operating now?
Overtime.
Overtime. That's one of the.
Are these positions in the budget and you just can't hire them, or are they in the budget?
We'll put them in the budget.
Excuse me?
They weren't in the budget.
They're not in the budget.
And what we're looking at now? Okay.
Right.
It's the first time I've heard of this.
Okay, well, we just need to.
Yeah, it wasn't brought through before this.
No, it wasn't. We just found this out this past week. So that's what.
So Nathan, will they become part of the budget?
If they send us an email and say we need to add those positions, please copy me and Kelsey, right, Kelsey?
Be sure you get job descriptions.
That will happen.
So essentially, we've just been running the skeleton crew
Yeah.
with these facilities, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not going to. This is why it's essential to have people that are monitoring this daily. And I think I inherited this, and once you see things after things happen, you realize things weren't going like they're supposed to go.
Well, and I mean, I think the fairgrounds and the civic center is, it's where most of the events happen. And it's pretty super critical that we make sure that you guys have adequate staff, because what happens if an event like LaShawn, when that Prince the rap event happened and the system went down in the Civic Center, like everyone was coming up to me like, what is going on with this air? Like the airs were not working. And you don't want like citizens having a bad taste in their mouth about like an event that they go to. It's going to spread. And I think it's important to have at least those 2 facilities, in tip top, staffed. And so.
Do want to remind council that we talked about adding a lot.
Yeah.
Right. We have to pay for it.
I know.
And so it's just to put it in there and not have a way
Yeah,
to pay
figure
for
it
it. It's
out.
going to be an issue too.
Right.
Well, and to be fair to Rec and Park, how long ago is it this big overall restructure occurred? So there's still a lot of things being felt out and figured out through the restructure, because Tony, you got a whole bunch of extra stuff going on.
And to the mayor's credit, we just found this out.
Right.
Today is Thursday and it's like Tuesday, yeah. And so he wasn't aware, but we were gonna make him aware. It's just now that we had this, we got to, the mayor has really been sent out a memo talking about our overtime and et cetera. And I can tell you what the civics, what the fairgrounds was about. We have one person that worked in it.
I just know an already large department got even larger with the recent restructuring, so I want to show you a little grace for that. It's a whole lot to manage.
Another thing that it's included, these are reflected, these are also not reflected, sorry, let me say that correctly. The senior center, we're gonna be funding the positions for that. So the figure that the 3.6 figure includes the senior center. That's four full-time positions, one part-time position.
You said it does include.
What you see right now does not include it. The figure that I gave earlier, the 3.6 includes it.
So how much dollar wise are we looking at that's not in the budget?
At least 1.4.
That's only accounting for part-time positions. That's the additional requested positions aren't factored into that number, correct?
That actually does include the senior center.
Yeah, senior center and part-time, but the ones we just were.
The ones you just read are not.
Fairgrounds are not included.
So including the senior center, and part-time, it's 1.4. I failed to mention that earlier.
Thank you. You're just 2 steps ahead of me. I love that cost analysis. And I'm gonna get in the weeds in a second, JP. The Civic Center, we're basically booked up except for construction this year. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. Is that what we're looking at, perhaps increasing the rates? Of course, I realize the most benefit of the Civic Center is drawing the people in, but still the cost will help us save.
But that's something that we look at.
This would be a question for Nathan. But because where we are, the mayor just said we have to pay for this. As we look at everything that we have, here before us, where are we at in terms of how are we going to fund this budget, or maybe getting ahead of, are we looking at having to raise taxes? Where are we at?
At the level that you're currently at, without the information that you have in your budget, and I found another $112,000 yesterday, Mayor.
Revenue?
You're looking at, didn't find, but I did find 112. You're looking at about a surplus of about $829,000 right now.
Okay.
Now, we have begun some analysis on some other revenue sources. And I'm hoping that that's moving fairly rapidly. I think it is. And just to bring us in line with comparable cities for comparable types of services that we offer. But this is going to be a discussion that you're going to have.
Right.
So
we're in good shape. We just, but what it looks like, we've got some things that we are not included here that we may have to fund.
Definitely.
And find out how we're going
Yes,
to do
sir.
that.
Yeah, and looking at the capital budget and then the general fund budget and then some other, some of these other smaller things, we're going to be able to reconcile some of this by allocating our existing tax revenue properly, and also reallocating some expense where we see some surplus in some funds. And you're looking probably $250,000 there that we can move around, and still not, and help the cause, as it were. But then, you guys are going to have to make choices too. Which of these things are a priority for you right now?
Right.
So.
We got to keep in mind when we're kind of patting ourselves on the back, that we're borrowing $27 million. And if we weren't borrowing that, this budget would look entirely different. There would be a lot more requests for capital and all. So it's, I'm happy with where it is on that, but you got to take it over 3. That's why I keep asking for 3-year histories.
And not including those salaries that were just mentioned. Again, we're only asking for 57,000 more in the salary line item. So, if you add total of 3 full-time positions across our department for Civic Center and the fairgrounds. You're talking about another 150,000 salary only, not benefits. So that's still only gonna have us, asking for about 200,000 more than what we were allocated last year. And that's giving everybody their 2.5% as well. So it's actually really good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Sorry, Nathan, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Not at all. And I mean, that's one of those things, the conversations that we've been having.
Yeah.
Still, when I told you yesterday that we are being cautiously optimistic on revenue growth, we are still cautiously optimistic. When I spoke to you in October, you will remember that I was exceedingly optimistic on revenue growth. A little less right now, but as we all know, as the national economy flattens out, we figure out what that's actually going to look like. We expect a lot of this to stabilize as well.
I would like,
Go ahead.
I think we've been asking that question, but I think it was a good question. What is the critical things that we need? But I would like to say to our council, it's like Mr. Stovall has said, we're gonna have to make sure we're willing to, if we borrow money and whatever we have to do, we'll be willing to do it. Because we're asking that question, and that's the needs that we want. And if we want to make sure every department is getting what they want, I don't want us to start looking back and running backwards and backbiting, saying we can't do it now because we're asking that question to every last one of them. They're telling them what they need, so let's give them what they need when it's time to do it. Don't start saying we can't borrow, we can't do this, because we're back to every last one of them. What are the critical needs that they need? I'm just asking us to be willing to do what we can to give them what they need, and whatever it takes to do it, let's do it as a group.
Good point, Councilman. So I'm gonna come back, kind of, Councilman McKell made a point. We got it down in a number of page numbers, right? And so, I'm gonna go through and, if you got questions on the particular departments based on page numbers, we can be in order. Athletics, that's page 34, and expenses.
Athletics related question.
Maybe you wanna hop, yeah, you switch out with Mark there.
When do we intend to have the new registration software active for parks and athletics?
Our current go-live date is Labor Day.
Nice.
Yeah, we started our kickoff last week. We're start training next week, and our tentative go-live is Labor Day.
That'll be right before fall registrations, all right?
No, it'll actually be after soccer, fall soccer, so we'll really be prepared for spring sports next year.
About a year out, it'll be more effective. Cool.
Any other questions for athletics? All right, okay. And go, I'm gonna go down, so you don't, if we have questions, we'll call you up. I'll just go down the list of TR White Sportsplex. That's also bottom of page 34, going to page 35. Any questions from them? Westwood Community Center on page 35.
Just reminding the TR White and Westwood are the big salary discrepancies are about the part-time positions.
Bemis Community Center, also on 35.
That's dropping from 87 to 49. Any big reason there? Am I reading that right?
Sorry.
No, you're
I want to, okay, South Jackson. Yeah, right before Bemis. So the question's about South Jackson then.
It's gonna be the same thing, right? The part-time, factored in.
And, this year, we realized, 3 months ago that salary line item hadn't been touched at all, and it was because all the employees there were allocated to other departments. And so we've got that reclassification done.
And for any of the council persons that have not been to that South Jackson Community Center, I'd like to encourage you to go take a look at it. It's a really nice facility. Our senior citizens there love it. They have activities going on all the time, and it's really, really nice.
One of the hottest pickleball areas in town.
It is.
And hey, if you don't know how to play pickleball, don't go out there.
And the council, for a period of time, there were no rentals. Now there are rentals every weekend, so that's revenue.
Right. Right. Hats off to Miss Pee-wee.
Yes.
Yes, Miss Pee-wee, that's a question.
She was acting about full. She has a full-time. We moved him from another department. She needed a full-time. He needed to be a male, really, not discriminating because they do a lot of setups. And the part-time guy we had, he left. So we already had a full-time in the system. So he's transferred to South Jackson. She's got him into part. So she's good. And Miss Pee Wee rang the bell.
She did, yeah.
She's doing a great job.
All right, going down, thank you, to the depot on 36. Then below that is Cypress Grove, bottom of 36.
Remind me, the contract, we did have significant expense there. What is that for at Cypress Grove?
What's
It's
bird
the
food?
vet,
Contract services?
it's the vet.
Vet and bird food.
We now have, a USDA permit and they require that we have, we do so many checks a year on our birds that we have there. Also, we did have 2 sick birds last year. And so, but we have a vet now that sees our birds regularly.
Yeah.
We'll be having a gender reveal soon. We have 2 new hawks. And we
Don't
we
get me
don't
started
know.
on the gender.
We don't know.
You know why?
Don't say it.
Okay, I won't tell you.
What? And now I want to know. That's
Is this a joke?
Well, female and male birds have the same organs, so you don't know.
Did they not declare it birth?
It's declared by DNA, so we're having a blood test done and we will have a
Jerry.
gender reveal.
So we had that at our staff meeting, and he went into the whole details, but we can't do that here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and we're going to the tennis center now.
Nice for having weather.
Center tennis complex, golf course.
What is that contract?
For which one?
Golf course.
Golf course, that's the contract. They manage the golf course for us.
Is there a revenue offset to that?
We're looking at the golf course. I can say that, whether it's, viable, but we look at the golf.
Farmers markets on the bottom of page 37. I think it rolls into 38. Yeah, rolls into 38. Got the amp is on 38.
Thank you for your.
We've done some improvements at the amp, so if y'all come to the Friday night shows, you'll be really, really impressed. And look at the artwork that's done. It's beautiful.
And got Jackson Ballpark on 38 also.
Okay. Are we getting, what amount of revenue offsets this?
We have rent, we have direct revenue is the rental revenue.
Which is, and I'm gonna ask, we've already asked for that, but you have no, okay, we'll get it when you turn it over.
It's what you want.
It's also in your revenue. It's lined into that.
And that falls under the city with Sean also.
And the ballpark has a critical, need as well. The HVAC system and the large concession and in the suite, it needs replacing, like, it really needs replacing.
I think that's in the capital.
It's in the
Yeah,
capital.
yeah, okay.
What's the long-term plan for that, just for the ballpark?
10-year contract, we're in year 3 of our 10-year contract. We did 8 years. 8 year.
So you got 5 more years to look for it here.
West Tennessee Healthcare Sportsplex, bottom of page 38, rolling into page 39. We go through that.
Outside of the part-time discrepancy, y'all are pretty much the same, aren't you?
Yes, sir. As part of the 1.4 million that Christie referenced, obviously is part-time seasonal that we have. I currently have about 93 part-time seasonal staff. So my estimates are that somewhere around $250,000 that is out of that 1.4 that we're operating with right now. Other than that, it is, I mean, everything that I have pretty much is tied to the teams, tied to weather. But if revenues go up, my expenses go up slightly, revenues go down, expenses are going down slightly, just depending on the number of teams and where we are with the number of tournaments that we're hosting. We've had 4 rainouts this year, and that was a roughly 260 teams that we've lost. But projected right now, we are still on pace, weather permitting, to hit close to 1,900 teams. So we're going to pass the 1,850 that we had last year, even with the losses. Revenue is going to be the way it's trending right now. Revenue total, that's just our revenue, should be somewhere between 1.6 and 1.7 million coming in this year. And that doesn't include the direct impact of the direct hotel motel tax or sales tax that we're capturing directly as well. Budget right now, without knowing the timeline for the turf project, I'm budgeting as is. Hopefully in the next 6 weeks, now that TLM's under contract and we're getting the design done and we get the bid package put together, that we'll have a more firm schedule. I know in the RFQ, they threw an 18-month type timeline out there. I'm fairly confident that it will not take 18 months, but throughout FY26, we could have fields and or complexes offline for a period of time. So we could be anywhere from 12 to 14 active fields, which could reduce some usage. It'll reduce some revenue, but it'll also reduce expenses during that time. So there's going to be an offset with that. I think when we get to FY27 budget, the hope is by next fall, we'll be with the construction complete and we would have a full realization of what that's going to look like with all 17 fields turfed and rolling. But if you just take the rainouts out, I'm at 2,100 teams. And right now, that's a team is worth about $830 per team to us in direct revenue. So there's an additional going on $200,000 just right there in revenue. Now, expenses are going to go up a little bit too, but once you get to the point where we are with the number of teams, expenses don't go up anywhere near like the revenue does, because if I have my lights on, it doesn't matter if I have 5 extra teams. I've already got the entire complex open, so the revenue is growing and umpires and a few costs are tied. But other than that, we're rolling and operating. The only thing in the capital budget is the playground resurfacing that is in there, and that's a dire need to get my playground resurfaced. And I know Councilwoman Busby was asking about unforeseen. I mean, it's one of those things. We're 20 years old. I have 70 acres and a lot of equipment. I have nothing that I think is on this last leg. We have our best municipal maintenance team in the state, and they keep things running and operating behind the scenes, just like y'all were talking about earlier. They do a wonderful job. Groundskeeping does a wonderful job, and we're ready just to continue to grow. We've had 4 years now of just unprecedented growth, and can't wait to see what's going to happen once we get the turf in.
And we told the TLM team, when they visit these other complexes, let's one up them.
Absolutely.
We want to be able to say, I don't want to go to Union One when I come to Jackson, because they got this.
Jason, slightly off topic, what's been the response to the shade structures that were installed?
It's been wonderful. I mean, just not only is it shade structure, it's also rain structure, and you can figure out when it's starting, because again, if it's not lightning, RC and those guys have those fields in great shape, and we play when we can. and we'll play in rain. And you can figure out how many people you can fit under those pretty easily when it starts to rain. It's been good. We hosted, last week, we actually hosted the Tennessee Middle School Association's Section 4 tournament. So we had 10 softball and 10 baseball teams from across the region, from Memphis, Dyer County, Obion County, Paris, Hardeman County, some of our own all coming in, some of them with 4 chairs deep around our fields. Last Tuesday, we had over 800 people out there watching that tournament. And that's a tournament that, again, it's one of those things that we will continue to host. The turf coming in helps all of those. They want to play in our place now.
And you can mention that the TSSAA will be looking at us for their spring games. They want to spread them around.
The TSSAA sent out a notice last week that they are looking to split up their spring championships all across the state. They have now acknowledged that having all the spring championships in one location is no longer feasible because of the additional sports and just the size that it has become. So they are looking for bids event by event. And I think once we get our turf done, I would have 17 potential softball fields. We would be the only facility in the state of Tennessee that could host all 4 classifications every single game in one location and not having to go from site to site around any city. So that would be something that we absolutely would want to go after and put our best foot forward to be able to try to get Tennessee high school softball championships here.
So when you make $830 per team, that's just you.
That's not the economic impact on the city. That is direct revenue through gate admissions, concessions, tournament fees, gift shop. That's everything that we collect internally right now. And that number is conservative. I mean, right now, if you can look at my revenue projections through May 15th, I'm actually at $871 per team this spring, which in the fall, I was at $789.44 per team. But I've continued to add items to concessions and adjust pricing. And again, making sure that what we're doing is a good return on investment with how we're handling those things. I mean, we have gone with projections, there'll be a gap after you take all 3 of my lines with concessions, admin, and gift shop of less than $200,000 for the first time in history. And that's the investment that is going back to the economic impact, and then that's being turned into millions of dollars. But again, that doesn't even include the direct impact from the hotel motel tax and sales tax that we're getting from hosting these teams.
That's a great revenue stream. Back on to the new money that will be generated by the turf. Obviously, it's going to probably be 2027, maybe before that. Okay, we kicked around at one time, I thought $1 million, then we kicked around, will we feel comfortable with 500,000? Where do we feel comfortable now?
I think it's very, I mean, if nothing changes, if we get no additional teams, we host no additional events, we go from 1,900 teams to over 2,100 teams. And then you start talking about the additional tournaments that we will play because we'll have the capacity to do it in the month of July and go longer and start earlier. And then those teams and those AAA majors that are driving through here, heading to South Haven or heading to Oxford. I mean, I think 2,400 teams conservatively is a good number. So then you can do the math on if we're at 800 plus per team on direct revenue to us, and we're adding 500 to 600 teams. That's where we'll be at once that gets fully operational.
800 times
500, 500 to 600 additional teams. There's your
900.
There's your, I'm being conservative, but I mean, there's your additional revenue right there.
So you're looking at $500,000 there?
I think and that's per year.
Okay, so what we're back to what we said $1 million, and then maybe $500,000 we feel real good about.
And they were
in 27. I'm putting Jason's name out here. Increased revenue $500,000. The mayor said your job hinges on it. I didn't say it. He said.
Honestly, in a short amount of time to go just in FY '22, we had 935 teams and a total revenue of $931,000. To have an estimate this year of hitting 900 teams and being close to $1.6 million. And that's with having rainouts, and that's with doing what we can. The turf is going to be a game changer, but at some point, I mean, we are going to reach a capacity, because what I don't want to do and won't do is I'm not going to sacrifice service and try to pack. If we can, I mean, this weekend we have 116 teams signed up. 120, 124, that's a lot. I'm not going to pack 140 teams in there and make them have a bad experience. I mean, but if our average this year, so our average team's at 75 teams right now per tournament, which is up. Last year we averaged 69, the year before that 63, and we were in the 40, the 57s. So our highest average in history was back in the 11-12 season, where we averaged 79 teams, but we only hosted 19 tournaments. Now we're at 75, and through last weekend, we're already at 18.
Already what?
Already at 18 tournaments hosted, and we have 6 more to go.
Said it many times, this is the best county city project I've ever seen. It's really been successful.
But I appreciate the support of the mayor and the council for just keeping things going, because I mean it is bringing people in. I mean it's to the point where we're generating dollars not just for us. And I always say, if you look at Exit 85. I remember when nothing was out there, and there's a reason why there's construction everywhere. And then once Great Wolf goes in and we can complement what Great Wolf is doing, there's not going to be a whole lot of grass outside the 70 acres within our fence. I can pretty much guarantee that.
Jason, up some of these revenue numbers.
Again, I like to underpromise and overperform like you do, Nathan. So I do think I think the revenue is going to come in, but again, it could rain every weekend from now on out, and I hate putting those in there, but the revenue numbers are going to be higher.
You said 1 point something.
Yeah,
That's not what
it's going to be a little bit higher than what's on here. I'm just trying to be very conservative.
I appreciate it.
Any other questions for Sportsplex?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. We've done Civic Center, the net. Any questions from Ned? That's on page 40.
Let me say, David we have 3 certified park and recreation professionals in our department, and he's the latest.
Bottom of page 40 is the start, very bottom, and rolls over to 41 is the majority of it.
Richard's going to ask you a question.
I think I've already covered it.
Yeah.
There's no critical need in your department that's not included within the budget.
No, you, in the capital, in this next round of capital, we'll have taken care of our HVAC situation. Where we've had the 2 that have been ready to go up, and we'll get these next 2, and that'll set us up, much like the Civic Center hours are out or fritzing. If you've been to an event over there in the summertime, it gets warm. So this should take care of that and set us up for the next 20, 25 years.
Okay.
We got 2 city, but we got to get the rails up before they can go up.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. And then Fairgrounds, Carnegie and Senior Center, the last 2. Carnegie's on page 42. Bottom of 42, rolling over into 43, and then Senior Center rounds out our general fund expenses at 43.
Briefly, I'd like the Carnegie to tell you some of the things you got done so that y'all can be aware of what, a few years it was one of them handshake deals, and people took it over, and there was no MOUs and none of that, but it's back under the city's control, and he's doing a great job, so. Share where you had some stuff.
Good morning. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Aaron Harden. I've been the director of the Carnegie since September. And so it has been quite an undertaking, as you can imagine, a 120-year-old important property for our city, historically speaking. And so when I arrived, there were a lot of things that were neglected. both from the building side and also it was a very static location. I would hazard a guess, has anyone in here actually been in the Carnegie in a year? We got 1, 2, 3. We got a few, right? I'd love for all of you to come by and see what we've done. Since I've been there, I completely reorganized the entire space. We organized an agreement with the Music Museum nonprofit that has been living there for some years. I think up to 8. Had an agreement with them to where we show part of their collection, but we're also allocating the space to have now up to 5 new exhibitions a year. That's rotating. That could be historical things, could be Jackson-focused things, but that's also bringing in exhibitions with contacts and relationships that I have in the art world and things like that. I come from an academic and art background, so utilizing that relationships that I have to bring experiences to our residents here. I created a free local program for local membership, so now our taxpayers can come and enjoy our space because I think that they deserve that. They pay for the space, they should enjoy it. But we also have a theater in the basement that I've been kind of renovating, getting up and going. This month we have 2 weekends of shows going on in the theater. We had a concert there last weekend. So it's really just utilizing this asset that we have in the city in a way that's going to benefit the taxpayers. It's going to benefit our community from a cultural standpoint, but also creating experiences in every square foot of that building. So it's my goal. We built a classroom space downstairs. We've already had, I don't know how many classes. We have 6 classes this month alone. So really trying to utilize the assets that we have so that we can really expand what we offer as a city, as we have an actual community museum.
To your question, putting a building attendant.
What?
A building attendant at the Carnegie.
Yes.
It needs to be daily kept up.
One of my many tasks might be to meet with the mayor, or it could be doing press, or it could be curating a show. I built 2 gallery spaces, mostly me designed them. But I took out the garbage yesterday. I swept the floors because it needed to be done. And I'm a firm believer if you want something done, to get it done until.
Currently in the budget or it's not in the budget?
It's going to be in the budget.
There is a building attendant.
That building attendant has been moved to South Jackson.
Yeah, there was a need in South, a big need for PV, so. Yeah.
That's what we did. We shipped him to South Jackson.
Well, it is currently in your budget. So.
Yeah, this was yes.
So the answer is, yes, it is in the budget.
It is in the budget that's before you. However, the person is no longer there. They're somewhere else, which means they need to be moved.
Yeah, this is a recent, because it was a pretty drastic.
South Jackson budget.
They're probably not in the South Jackson.
They are not in the South Jackson.
That's what I was, an additional person that wasn't in the budget.
Correct.
How do you inform the public about all these activities and things that you have going on down there?
Well, of course, it's kind of a multi-pronged approach in a way that doesn't cost money, which is important to me with a very meager budget. So I do press, of course, when I can. We do public announcements, but also we're trying to be really active to engage with some younger audiences using Facebook and Instagram in ways that are free from our end to design things that people will know about what's going on. Of course, utilizing Kenny and Whitney to try to get the word out as well.
You've done a good job with that. So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
you have an office yet?
I do have an office. Yeah, we have an office downstairs. And again, I'd be happy to show anybody around. We're really proud of what we've done down there for, I started there with a $0 operating budget just because, this was the thing that we didn't know what it would need. And I tried to be scrappy, find funds, find donors to try to give us resources, looking for grants, relying on our wonderful maintenance crew. They have been down there. They're down there today getting our kitchen ready and renovated because we're starting in the works with an MOU with a nonprofit that's going to be teaching an art and cooking class to middle school students once school starts back. So we'll be able to utilize our space for more, just we're trying to make life here rich for as many people as we can.
First thing you have to get an office.
I didn't have an office for a little while, but it was okay.
It was up the spiral stairs. Somebody come visit didn't probably fall.
Yeah, it's not.
Do you rent out space to citizens that might need to utilize it for a social event?
So we rent out the theater, and the classroom space, the museum space, that was the main floor space. And I know most people had weddings there and things like that in the past. We have a lot of potential liabilities because it's a museum space now. So I've steered away from renting that space, just to avoid, you can imagine if you have thousands of dollars of memorabilia and things, it's not, a bridge that we think is appropriate to cross, especially for the other facilities that we have, but we do rent out the downstairs. And that's when we have the Hub City Theater Company is actually loading in a theater performance. They're renting the space. So we rent the theater out and the classroom space out.
It's nice to see that with all the displays more active there.
Yeah, we had two from Spain in yesterday, so we do see a lot of international traffic, a lot of people traveling through to stop for a myriad of, things. Traditionally, that space, because it was very static, did see some traffic from outside of Jackson, but my focus has been to bring in our residents and let them appreciate and enjoy the space too, making an asset to the locals. You don't have to do one or the other, you can do both, and that's the goal that we have, is to do both those things really well.
No more look like a film.
Yeah.
And this building is one of the few left.
Yeah, there's a few Carnegie libraries floating around, but if the architecture with a space like that, it's as a city asset, it's kind of amazing that we still have an asset like that at the city, and it's because Parks and Rec saved it in the late '80s and kind of kept it alive for all these years. So I really think it's kind of an honor to be responsible for caring for a historic space like this and trying to do that well. And again, our maintenance guys have been great in helping us care for that space. As you can imagine, a 120-year-old building needs a lot of love, and so I've tried to budget accordingly to be prepared for things that I think might come based on my last 9 months of experience. So we're going to do the best we can and try to keep it alive.
All right, thank you, Aaron.
Any additional questions for Carnegie? Not, we'll move on to the Senior Center, Senior Activity Center, which is on page 43.
So just to let you all know, right now, we are on track to get the keys to the building August 31st. Is when they're going to allow us to start moving in. I'll start expending some of that grant money probably June 1st. We'll probably start ordering stuff then to furnish the building.
What all do we have planned for when it's up and running?
Good morning. We have a lot of things already in place and more to even come. The residents are very excited about getting a senior center and having one. And a lot of other organizations are happy to partner with us. Currently, we have exercise programs going on for our seniors. They're all free: strength and cardio and strength, balance and tone, chair yoga, Pilates, fish and dance fitness. We also have live dancing. We have different educational classes that are taking place. West Tennessee Healthcare Rehabilitation Hospital is coming to us every fourth Monday. They'll be coming doing classes. We just did a stroke prevention. They're going to be doing things like balance tests, fall prevention, infection control education, healthy eating habits, label reading, diabetic education, and home safety education. We also have a certified keto instructor that teaches the keto eating plan, a healthy eating plan for our seniors. We also have a pharmacist that is currently doing type 2 preventive educational classes that meet once a week. We also have craft classes. We have mental health awareness classes that are currently teaching bingo. And we also have some fun things for our seniors to participate in to showcase their talents. We always have at the NED our Age of Talents talent showcase, and that's where people 55 and older can come and showcase their talents.
And another aspect is we're gonna potentially look at weekend rentals for the senior center, for seniors.
When will we get the update on the, so we can open on August 31st?
I don't think we'll be opening on August 31st, but it'll probably be within a month of that.
So in September, the last report that, I know that I received was May or June. When did that change?
They sent me an update probably 2 weeks ago, that said that due to the delay of the prefab building that we faced back in the early, spring, it had, or, sorry, last year, spring, it had delayed us. They still say that it could be sooner, but that's the date that they've given me.
Additional questions for the Seniors Activity Center?
The critical need that we're gonna have there is the transportation buses. That is in your capital request for them. Originally, that was gonna be funded in the grant. They restructured that grant, and so they're no longer allowing us to purchase the transport vans, for the senior center. So that is in the capital request.
It's to get them there, not to get them on a trip.
I mean, it could be used for a variety of things. A lot of the senior centers around here, they take day trips, with their seniors, those are fee-based trips. But, ideally, it'll be used to offer, some transportation. We're obviously not gonna be able to drive everywhere to pick up every citizen. One thing that we are looking at doing is having a bus stop added there, once we're in operation. That'll assist with getting some transportation there as well.
That was the purpose of the location of the senior center, that it was adequately accessible for public transportation. We'll discuss that.
So why the no salaries budget?
The request for those salaries was made after we did the initial salary and benefits projection, and we just haven't gotten them back in there yet.
You have a rough number of what that?
I do not.
The director salary should be in the admin right now, unless that was taken out, and then we're adding that in again.
It's about 208,000 for all 4 positions in the part-time
We
position.
have a current employee that's already employed. It's her current salary,
Yes.
position salary and admin right now.
Yes. Yes.
Any additional questions?
I got a question about Shirlene Mercer Park. Do we ever get a bathroom over there yet?
So we just did our bids, for those projects, and that'll come before council next month.
And that'll do what?
It'll come before you all next month to award the bid for construction for those projects.
Thank you.
Same thing with Stella Duncan.
Same thing.
Same thing.
All right, any other questions for the Senior Activity Center? If not, we'll go on page 42. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the Animal Care Center.
Let me say one thing while she's coming. One of the frailties of getting older is that you get cold quicker. And I'm cold in here, so as soon as we can get through this, it'll be better for me.
Well, I hope to be brief, brilliant, and gone.
All right, all right.
Page 42 is budget. We have an estimated timeline on our open.
That is the question of the hour. Talked to Tom, project manager, this morning, and he said that they are supposed to be starting on the access road next Friday. So fingers crossed from his mouth to God's ears. We don't have a start date on the parking lot yet, but, of course, we can't do one without the other, so we'll be happy to see any progress at this point.
One of the things I was curious about, obviously not in the new facility yet, however, we're expecting to have that building operating this upcoming fiscal year, correct?
Yes, hopefully.
As far as utilities, I mean, I know it's difficult to project until you really get in there. However, do you anticipate this new facility costing a bit more just in terms of heating, cooling, electrical, et cetera?
So the utility number that you see in our budget as we sit right now is the increased number. We're currently coming in a pretty fair distance under that, because we thought we were gonna be in the new building this fiscal year. Excuse me. It is going to go up considerably from what it is now, because right now, I don't know if you've been to the current facility or not, the entire back half of the building does not have air conditioning at all. And so in the summertime, whatever temperature is outside is the temperature for the employees and the dogs in the kennel area in the back. Whereas the new facility is climate controlled throughout. The upside to that is obviously health and well-being of staff. Decreased health risks for the animals, because we spend all summer right now kind of doing triage and damage control for heat-related issues with the animals. And then also, one of the things that we have at the new facility is industrial dishwashers, because currently we are soaking our dishes in a bathtub and washing them like you would in the creek. And they have to, for proper sanitation protocol, they have to be soaked for a certain amount of time. You can't do but just a few at a time to keep cross-contaminating. And it actually uses enough man hours to take up a full-time employee. So we spent the money on the front end to put in industrial dishwashers. The only downside to that is instead of having to sit there and wait for your water to warm up, they run 58-second cycles where we can do all of our dishes for the entire day, for the entire building in about 11 minutes. So we're saving enough man hours to replace a person, but the water has to reach 160 degrees with each use. And so it takes a higher voltage for electricity. It does use less water, so that is going to be a little bit of an increase on our utilities as well. But the numbers that you're looking at is the increased number. We're not asking for any more movement.
Yeah, with a lot of that, we'll just have to see what the cost actually is, but
Right.
you're prepared for it.
Right. I'm hoping it's going to stay under the projected number. If it does increase some, I don't think it'll be considerable.
One more, sorry. How's fundraising gone outside of what we allocated for the operation?
So we've raised, between fees and independent fundraisers, we've raised about $100,000 this fiscal year. We're looking at another 10,000 that is going to hopefully come through before, well, not hopefully, it is going to arrive before the end of this fiscal year, July 31st. One of the things that we're looking at when we get to the new building is an increased ability to fundraise. Because right now, the only option we have for fundraising is crowdsourcing online or offsite events, which means we have to either rent or secure a sponsor for a venue. You've got to rent tables, you've got to rent chairs, all these things that go into an offsite event. Because we cannot host an event where we are now. There's no accessible parking, there's nowhere for anybody to stand. When we host volunteer classes right now, we stand in the lobby and just duck around employees as they go about their business. Whereas at the new facility, once the parking lot and road are finished, we'll have ridiculously increased number of parking spaces. We have a bunch of flex spaces in the building where we can host on-site events on a regular basis. So I'm hoping to see that almost double within the first, 18 months of the building being functional.
Right. Will these funds go directly into these accounts, or are there some other expenses you would use the donations for?
No, they would go directly towards what you're looking at right here. The line item, second from the top, the donations, everything that we raise via events goes into that budget right there, and it's used to offset the expenditures of the facility itself.
Any critical needs you have in your office is not included in the budget?
No, sir. Our biggest struggle is retention, because our starting pay for our base positions is $14.30 an hour, and we can't hire anybody under 18. So adults are having a really hard time getting by at $14.30 an hour. And so when we have somebody who performs at a level that, means we want to keep them long-term, we have a second level of animal care tech position 1 and then an animal care tech position 2. So we like to promote the people that are perform at the level we expect. I've got one young lady who's been with us for almost 3 years. She's in line for that promotion. And then our shelter manager currently is making considerably less than some secretarial positions throughout the city. And so I would like to see her get fairly considerable raise. However, I don't think we need to ask for additional funds for that because we have a part-time position right now that is not being utilized, that we have been funded for the last couple of years. And so I think we're going to look at eliminating that position and using that money to provide the retention costs for the other two employees.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So circle back, make sure you got, on the donation, your best projection would be 200,000 a year.
Right now, yes. Yes.
Any additional questions?
All right,
Thank you, Whitney. I'm gonna have, sorry, Councilman Donnie, we got one more thing. Daisy's gonna cover debt service.
Start with debt service. It's under the green tab. We anticipate about $9.3 million in debt service revenue, which is actually a portion of our total property tax. Right now, that division is about 18.5% of property tax and tax equivalents. And that's going to, in our current property tax, next year's tax will generate about $6.9 million. $6.9 million, along with that tax equivalents and delinquencies, you're looking at about $9.3 million. Our total debt service that's required to meet the current debt obligations of the city is about $6.4 million, leaving a surplus in the debt service fund of about $2.8 million. Now, for reference, if we were to use level principal payments on a 30-year, $26 million note, if we were to do that, the debt service would be about $2.8 million at its highest, and it will decline every year. If you were to use just level debt service on that, it would be $2.1 million for the balance of the note. That's just to provide context in that we currently have the money to service the debt that we have the debt allocate, the money here allocated to service that debt.
At 30 years.
At 30 years.
What would it be at 10?
I don't have that number in front of me. Yes, sir, I don't have that in front of me.
You have another number besides 30?
No, sir, I have that 30-year number. That's just that's the number that I wrote down.
I would like to see it 10, 15, 20.
You've got it in your email from December.
Okay.
It shows you the debt service schedules there. The other thing is that the arbitrage on the 26 million would generate up to $1.17 million in interest, depending on how quickly we spend it. Just the arbitrage on the $26 million debt proceeds would generate up to $1.17 million.
One time.
Depending on how quickly we spend it. I would gather in the first year, it would be closer to $750,000 to $850,000 because some of that stuff can be spent just like that. Much of it is going to take some time to spend. So that's your debt service. If you've got questions about debt service fund, I would love to answer them. Don't ask me anything hard, Larry.
I'm out of questions.
Oh, good.
What? The battery ran down.
Don't question the questions.
Okay. If you go to your pink tab, can I move on, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
If you go into your pink tab, because Councilman Donnell is ready to go. If you move on to your pink tab, you will see on the first page the revenue projections for capital outlay fund. Much of that is reimbursement for transportation projects, along with the RTP grant and the Connected Communities Facilities grant that will provide funding for the senior center. And so we're looking at about $1.6 million there. Stan is probably not in this room, or anybody, that's okay. There are some other reimbursements that we will probably receive for ongoing projects here, but we don't know what they are. But this is the portion of those capital projects that we anticipate receiving here. So out of that capital budget, it's going to be actually quite a bit less than whatever it was. We take the vehicles out, we know that we're going to get about $1.6 million in revenue to offset those capital expenses. Was that too fast, Mr. Mayor?
No, but I do have a question. Okay, you take the vehicles out and expensing them. Did we take that money out of the request for capital, the bond issue?
No, we haven't.
Are we going to do that? If we had this in capital, now we're taking out of capital, could we reduce the bond issue?
I don't want to get too deep into the structure of what we're talking about, but, Ron is behind me, I'm counting on. There needs to be a rear view mirror, right? Okay. The way that will work is that it will be a generation, I mean, not generational, that's too long. It'll be a gradual replacement of some of our vehicle assets. And it's a phased in approach. And so the brand new ones would be the ones that we would replace last, obviously. So
we're leaving money in the bond issue for cars, yes or no?
I think that's a question that we'll have to evaluate. I think it's a question that you probably will get a chance to evaluate.
Okay.
You have to vote on
But you see, it was my point, that would be gonna switch them over to expense.
Right, now let me say, you very much cannot use the bond proceeds to pay a lease payment. So.
It's really too early to make, to provide definitive answers until we've seen the full scope of what the enterprise option might be.
So I'd love to answer questions about debt or capital revenue.
I got a question. So what we'll do is we'll make the adjustments to what has been added today.
Me and Richard would love to go.
And then we'll get back together, and what we'll probably do is have since departments aren't involved, we have a discussion. We'll probably do it in a smaller room next week or two, to finalize this before we get a final document to you all for, voting on. So we can keep you informed, keep you updated, and, be open about what we're doing. So, nothing else? Let the cold flee quickly.
That's right.
Thank y'all.
See, that's the system is okay.
That was a trip.